This episode is brought to you by Thorne, and I have some incredible news for any of you that are in the military, first responder, or medical professions. In an effort to give back, Thorne is now offering you an ongoing 25% off each and every one of your purchases of their incredible nutritional solutions. Now, Thorne is the official supplement of CrossFit, the UFC, the Mayo Clinic, the Human Performance Project, and multiple special operations organizations. I myself have used them for several years, and that is why I brought them on as a sponsor. Some of my favorite products they have are their Multivitamin Elite, their Whey Protein, the Super EPA, and then most recently, Cinequil. As a firefighter, a stuntman, and a martial artist, I've had my share of brain trauma and sleep deprivation, and Cinequil is their latest brain health supplement. Now, to qualify for the 35% off, go to thorne.com, thorne.com. Click on sign in and then create a new account. You will see the opportunity to register as a first responder or member of military. When you click on that, it will take you through verification with GovX. You'll simply choose a profession, provide one piece of documentation, and then you are verified for life. From that point onwards, you will continue to receive 35% off through Thorne. Now, for those of you who don't qualify, there is still the 10% off using the code BTS10, Behind the Shield 10, for a one-time purchase. Now, to learn more about Thorne, go to episode 323 of the Behind the Shield podcast with Joel Totoro and Wes Barnett. This episode is sponsored by Team Builder, yet another company that's doing great things for the first responder community. As a strength and conditioning coach myself who also trains tactical athletes, dissemination of wellness information is one of the biggest challenges. Now, Team Builder is the premier strength and conditioning software for tactical athletes, and there are several features that really impress me. Firstly, there is a full exercise library, so you, the personal trainer, does not have to create that within your own department. Secondly, you can send out programming, but also individualize, which I love. So you blanket program for everyone. Now you can tweak based on someone's injury, someone's need to maybe drop some body composition, rather than having to write a program for every single person on their own. Team Builder also allows you to build custom questionnaires to collate health and wellness data. It integrates with wearables. And I think one of the most important things is obviously it tracks. To me, it's imperative that we as a profession start tracking our people from day one and then over the full span of their career, therefore catching potential wellness issues and injuries before they happen. Now, if you want to try Team Builder, they are offering you, the audience of the Behind the Shield podcast, a free 14-day trial to experience all of the features. And if you want to take a deeper dive into Team Builder, listen to episode 1032 with Melissa Mercado, or go to teambuilder.com. And I'll spell that to you because it's not as you'd think, TEAMBUILDR.com. Welcome to the Behind the Shield podcast. As always, my name's James Gearing, and this week it is my absolute honor to welcome on the show former professional surfer, Jiujitsu practitioner, and ocean lifeguard, Kyle Foyle. Now, in this conversation, we discuss a host of topics, from his journey into the world of surfing, the importance of fitness standards, martial arts, mentorship through the junior lifeguarding program, foundation training, the aging athlete, some notable rescues, and so much more. Now, before we get to this incredible conversation, as I say every week, please just take a moment. Go to whichever app you listen to this on, subscribe to the show, leave feedback, and leave a rating. Every single 5-star rating truly does elevate this podcast, therefore making it easier for others to find. And this is a free library of almost 1,100 episodes now. So all I ask in return is that you help share these incredible men and women's stories so I can get them to every single person on planet Earth who needs to hear them. So with that being said, I introduce to you Kyle Foyle. Enjoy. Well, Kyle, I want to start by saying two things. Firstly, thank you to our mutual friend, Jassy Salas, for connecting us. And secondly, I want to welcome you onto the Behind the Shield podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm stoked to chat with you. Anybody that's friends with Jesse is a friend of mine. That guy's a 10 out of 10 human.
100%. Absolutely. Well, we'll get to how you guys know each other when we get a little deeper in the timeline. First question, where on planet Earth are we finding you this morning?
I am on the North Shore of Oahu here in Hawaii. If you want to get more, probably about Pupukea area, Waimea Bay area, about there.
Brilliant. Well, I would love to start at the very beginning of your life's journey then. So tell me where you were born and tell me a little bit about your family dynamic, what your parents did, how many siblings?
My parents were like in that wave of, I was born on the Big Island of Hawaii, which is the Big Island. It's named Hawaii, but everyone just calls it the Big Island. I was born in Hilo in the 80s, which was a fun time to grow up in Hawaii. So it was pretty fun. It was definitely raw and real, and we lived on 3 acres of land that had no electricity, no water. So my dad, gangster back in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, set up a generator, solar, and catchment. So we were totally off the grid. So growing up, like no TV, obviously no internet, and then my nearest neighbors were like a goat farmer and some people living in the bus. Like it was very rural. It's called Hawaiian Acres. It's on the kind of the side of the volcano on the Big Island, more towards Hilo. And, as a kid, I hated it. Absolutely hated it, because I wanted Nickelodeon. I wanted to be, in the water. I wanted to be at the mall. And it was like, looking back at it, it was probably I'm honored that I got to grow up that way. So I got to experience it. My parents were blue collar workers. Dad was a talented cook, but did construction. Mom was a stay-at-home mom until she became a teacher, which kind of, I laugh now because now I'm a teacher and now I'm a coach and stuff like that. So it's like definitely runs in the family because my mom was an amazing teacher. So grew up there, had an older sister, and my family dynamic was kind of what I do with my family. We were just super active, like the ocean was our church, my dad always said. So it's like, we surfed. That was just what we did. I just, on a boogie board on the front of my dad's surfboard, boogie board with my mom. Like we're always active. We always did afternoon walks. It was a really tight family. Just a lot of love, like my dad told me he loved me all the time. It was just I saw my parents always, very loving towards each other. So it was a very, we were very blue collar, almost to the, poor level, but like, the love there and just the love of the ocean that was just amazing. It was a great childhood.
Were your parents native Hawaiians or did they come from somewhere else?
They were first generation, like California surfers. Everybody came here in the 60s and 70s. So my parents were from Huntington. Dad from Huntington Beach. My mom's Manhattan Beach. My dad was just like left. They all left houses at 17, and I think my parents were together since they were 16. And, I think for what the story is, my dad was like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii. Everybody was going to Hawaii. Hawaii was the place. And do you want to come with me? And she said yes. And they were together for 40 plus years, until my dad passed away. And it was like, it was just so cool to see them. They just jumped and just moved to Maui. And they kind of just learned as they go. And there was a place, it actually got taken over by the volcano called Kalapana on the south part of the Big Island, and it kind of was called the second North Shore. It had all these famous surf spots like drain pipes and like a wave that looked like sunset. And so my dad fell in love with that wave. So they lived on Maui for a while, and then they moved to the Big Island, I think in 1980. And that's when my sister came around, and I came around a little after that. And it was, they just showed me the life, and they were always just like, we just wanted to always live in Hawaii. And they did it, which was onto them for being 17 and no money, like there was no financial backing or anything. It was just like they just went and survived. I give them huge credit for that.
As we sit here in 2025, there are so many creature comforts, and I think a lot of people are not uncomfortable anymore. We're so comfortable. You can drive through and drop off library books and get food and get dry cleaning. And, the profession that you're in, the profession that I'm from, discomfort is definitely part of the necessity if you're going to be effective in those rescue positions. When you reflect back now at that very kind of basal upbringing and you contrast it with the technological age that we live in now, what were some of the pros of living arguably how humans had lived for millennia before that?
I got to my imagination. Like me and my sister used to build forts, like these crazy, taking guava trees and cutting them and building these elaborate forts. So it was like a lot of imagination and using our hands. And I think it helped me down the road because I'm a visual learner. So it helped me when me and my sister would be sitting there like building these things. Okay, how am I going to bend this piece of wood to make a bow or whatever it was? I had to sit there and kind of stare at it, and it easily translated into my martial art career, my lifeguarding career, where like I can sit there and analyze it in my head. Where I look at my son, he's 12, and he's known nothing before the internet, and I kind of worry about this generation, especially looking at the junior guards. I get to deal with 600 kids every summer. That's so I get to see like, oh man, like that first week they're fresh out of school, they're sharp and they're energetic, and then you get to the fourth week and those kids have been on an iPad for 3 weeks, and we kind of get in that fourth week and you can kind of tell they're just they're not sharp, their attention spans, their imagination where of like they're kind of like almost like a crackhead, they want their device back. So I'm very fortunate I grew up in that because it made me who I am today. I couldn't imagine just being stuck just doing that all day. Like it's scary. I'm kind of worried about our future in that way. But the pros, sorry, going back to your question, is the pros was I got to use my imagination a lot, and I'm okay to be quiet. I'm okay to be, and which helps with lifeguarding is you got to be able to watch and not, our attention span's so short nowadays where lifeguard, I can sit there and stare at an ocean and watch everybody and not be like, oh, this is getting boring. I need to be on another device and swipe left and swipe right, So it's a pro that's helped me a lot through my life.
I never thought of that element. I was a lifeguard, never on the ocean, but I did the open water and then a lot of the pool lifeguarding too earlier. And yeah, you do have to sit there quietly and you have to scan, you have to be mindful, you have to try and keep awake. But in this lower tension, because I grew up on a farm. So again, I kind of had that grooming. I was many times where I was out all day on my own. But being a young person now that grew up with this kind of 7-second attention span that's been forced upon them really by technology, that would be a lot more challenging to be a lifeguard and actually stay engaged.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's harder for me because I'm a lieutenant, so I'm kind of the boss man. There's a chief, a captain. We have a captain for the whole North Shore, and then there's 5 lieutenants, and I'm one of them. And so now when I go to the tower, I'm walking up behind the tower and instead of seeing their heads up here, I'm seeing heads down here, which is like, come on guys. Like, you don't want to be that person where you don't see the rescue. You're only going to hear the rescue because somebody's screaming for help. So it's a new challenge as a, and I'm guilty too. I'm not saying I'm sitting here not on my phone, but like it's a time and place, you know what I mean? Yeah. You can check it real quick. If you take your breaks or whatever, but like that's the new challenge of these young guys coming in where why not? Why can't I be on my phone? Well, if you're not watching the water, like, I tell these new guys, all I want from you is be in uniform, be on time, and watch the water. And if you can really focus on that last one, you'll do good in this job and you'll save a life and you won't be embarrassed because people have been sitting there for 5 minutes doing this in the water trying to get your attention and you're like this. So that's a new challenge for sure for this generation.
Absolutely. Well, before we hit record, and I know we're going to take a deeper dive into this, but you mentioned about the number of people in Hawaii that actually can't swim. So talk to me about your experience. How was your father able to kind of get you to the point of being very confident in, some of the more turbulent waters that we have?
It's just, I didn't know any difference. It was just like, that's what we did. Like, I never saw my parents put on a pair of running shoes. I never saw my dad lift a weight. Like, he was a Taekwondo guy. So that's what I think I gravitated towards martial arts. But he was never like, oh, I'm going to go do squats, son. Do you want to come with me? Or I'm going to go run, or I'm going to go play basketball or play football. Like, my dad was just like, surfing and only surfing, or just anything water, body surfing, boogie boarding, anything. So he just threw by trial by fire. Like I think I did a 3-week course at American Red Cross, like a swimming course when I was like 8. That was it. There was no like, oh, Kyle, you got to turn your hands over, your technique, flutter kick, all that stuff. Like, I never learned that. It was just like you go in the ocean and you learn by trial by fire. And I was definitely afraid of big waves growing up because Big Island doesn't get big. It's like 6 feet at the most. The danger of Big Island is like that much water between the reef, and the reef is very much alive. So I was more scared of hitting the bottom than the bigger waves. But my parents just put me in the water and they just taught me everything. And then I luckily fell in love with surfing to like obsession level. Like all I wanted to do was surf. If I could surf all day, I would. And I looked at every surf magazine. I knew every ad. I knew every pro surfer. I knew every contest. Like it was just a complete obsession. So my goal was always go to the North Shore. There was, everybody has like a vision board of like, I want a Bugatti. I want a mansion in the hills. Mine was just live on the North Shore and have a family and surf. That was it. Like literally that, if I accomplished that goal, which I have, I'm probably the most blessed man around. I was happy. And so my dad just supported me and like just put me in contests. My mom was always there and my sister did contests and we were just always in the water. It's just, I think that's like anything in life. If you just do it repetition over and over again, you get comfort. It's like being in a fight. Your first fight, you watch guys do that, on the streets or in an MMA match, eyes are closed, they're swinging, they don't know, they're flinching. Fast forward to go to their 20th fight, they're cool, they're calm, they can hear their coach. It's the same thing, and the same thing as lifeguarding. I remember panicking at Sandy's and running around and trying to talk to everybody. And, now flash forward, I'm about to celebrate 20 years of lifeguarding in 6 days, I think. My first day of lifeguarding was, May 26, 2005. And now I'm like, cool as a cucumber. You know what I mean? And it's just, it translates just to those little reps, those little motions.
When did you first become introduced to lifeguarding? Were you part of a junior program yourself?
No.
Okay.
Literally didn't have a junior guard program in the 80s growing up in the Big Island. I think it started in 96 out here. And then, so I didn't have it. So I moved to North Shore. We can go to a whole long story on that. I was just like, I want to be a pro surfer. I wasn't good enough. Started working at little, retail shops. And I was like, I want to be in Hawaii, it's kind of, growing up, it's either you're a fireman, like the jobs you want to get for like the local kids. It's fireman, construction, stevedore, or some kind of pro athlete. But fire is definitely like, Sonny Boy made it. He's a fireman. He's in the academy, So I wanted to be a fireman. And I don't think I really wanted to be, but that was just like, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to start a business. I don't want to work in retail. I don't want to work in offices. I'll go fire. And I came over and, I was like, okay, I failed the fire test twice. Just couldn't, I'm not good with those gears, man. I just couldn't do it. I passed once. They threw it out. And I was like, you know what? I want to be an EMT. I actually kind of was like, so it's always been about, I wanted to help people. I don't know why, it was in me. So I went to KCC, which is a community college, to get my EMT license and all that stuff. And then I became friends with the lifeguards up here, of course, because I was surfing all over the North Shore and just kind of became friends with them. And they were like, one was like, hey, there's a tryout. And I was like, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'll go try it out. Did the run swim, did the performance test. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, I passed. I'm going to get in the recruit class. I think I'll just do it part-time, until something better comes around. 20 years later, it's the best job in the world. You know what I mean? So I was never like how like my son has been doing junior guard since he was 9. And he does every day with me because unfortunately he's my son. And so he's there every day. So it's like, if he becomes a lifeguard, it's kind of been written. Like, your dad was a lifeguard, you grew up in the ocean, you do junior guards for 10 years, whatever it is. But for me, it was just kind of like organically just kind of was like, I'll try it out. And then that path in life just transitioned there. And then I actually got my EMT license, and I did a bunch of ride-alongs, and I give all credit to EMS people. They do not get enough credit in the world. Like, I know fire is a hard job. I know police has a hard job, but EMS, what those people go through, they're not getting paid enough. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, going back to the surfing track for a second, what was it about your journey that you couldn't quite get to that pinnacle in surfing?
I think I had the mind for it. Like, I'm very coachable. You tell me to go, I'll go. You want me to drill a move, I'll drill it for 10 minutes, whatever, straight. But I didn't have any, not to make excuses, and it's never excuse. I just didn't, like nowadays in pro surfing, you have coaches. Like right now, I could go get my son a coach at 12 years old, and that guy will tell him, okay, your hand needs to be here, paddle this way. Oh, you're in the heat, you need to go out there this way. Your feet are too wide, their feet are too narrow. Oh, this board's different, this board's too thin. When growing up in the 80s or 90s more, I would say, it was like there was no coaching. And my dad, God bless him, he supported me, but he didn't like coach me in a way. And so I didn't have anybody. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm killing it. My style is good. And then I watch it on video and I'm like, oh, it's horrible. And I didn't have the technique or the heats to make it through. Like I was sponsored, I got paid, and I was, but I didn't hit that world level CT level that I wanted to get. It's a very hard level to get to, and just didn't have it. And I didn't want to be that 29-year-old waiting tables to pay for my surfing career. So at 21, 22, I just kind of went, okay, I'm not making much money. Be honest, I don't have the talent. It's just, just not going to make it. I don't have the resources to make it. I don't have the funds to make it. Okay, I'm going to switch gears. I'm still love surfing. I'm still, work with several companies. So I'm still living the dream. It's just I didn't have that. Just didn't have it, And you got to, sometimes I think it's hard as an athlete to go, you just don't have that little X factor that makes it between you're very talented, you're very good, but you're not a world champion. Or you're not at that little 1% that makes it up there. So just had to be honest with myself. Maybe looking back, maybe I could have, I don't know, but I'm happy where I'm at right now.
Have you ever crossed paths with Kona Oliveira, MMA fighter,
yeah.
surfer?
I've known Kona since he was 6 years old. Now he's a man-child. It's pretty awesome.
I had him on. The episode only came out a couple weeks ago, but it was interesting because it was the same kind of thing. Like he got to this incredible level, but he was also having this realization of the more pressure there is to, air quotes, win, the less he was enjoying surfing. And when he stepped away from the competition side, he kind of fell in love with surfing again.
Oh, for sure. No, I like I said, I'm always striving to be better. Like I'm the epitome of 1% better every day. And I'm like, oh, I know I can do better. And so I have one of my best friends actually is like CT level. I think he was number 5th in the world at one point. And he retired. He's got a family. And but I remember asking him like, hey, I feel like, how am I doing? Surfing is a really weird sport. It's very egotistical in the way of like, where me and you are doing jiu-jitsu, and I keep passing your guard, you will actually be like, dude, what am I doing wrong? And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, you're too flat on your back. You're not bringing your knees to your chest. Surfing, me and you are surfing together, and I see you do a cutback, and your hands are all up doing weird. If I pal up to you and go, hey, your cutback will look better, 9 times out of 10 it'll be like, who the hell are you? You know what I mean? So it's really hard for surfers to get told that their style needs to be changed, or it's ugly, or they're not performing well. So I remember my friend Jack was like, I asked him, I was just like, hey, what am I doing wrong? He's like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, and he listed all these things. And I was like, and I remember for like 10 minutes, I was like depressed, sad, angry, F him. He goes, oh. And guess what? I went out there with this ferocious just went out on small days, big days, changed my stance, watched where my arm was, and it totally improved my surfing. So if you don't have that drive to change yourself, and it going back to what Kona said, it's not fun. I actually caught myself, not this winter, but last winter, not having fun surfing. Because I'd go out there and like, I know what I have to do now because I now have been told at 40 years old, whatever I'm supposed to do. I wasn't having fun. I'd come in bummed on a surf session. We're like, dude, I'm not getting paid. My wife still loves me. I'm going to work on Monday. Like, I'm not making the CT. I'm not doing heats. Like, and as Conan was saying, like, yeah, you start to not have fun. And the whole point of surfing is, or to be in the ocean period, is to have fun. Like, you put so much pressure on yourself. Like, it's, it's not fun. And surfing, unlike any other sport, you're in Mother Nature. You're in this crystal clear water. You're watching fish swimming. The sun's shining. You're riding this mythical, moving object. To make it to where, like, oh, I gotta be serious, and I need to get all the waves, and oh man, my bottom turn sucked. Like, that's just, it's not a way to live. It kind of sucks in a sense. So he's totally right.
When I think of the origin of surfing, you think of that one with nature, that literally no one could be watching and the person would be catching the wave and having the time of their life. And then there's this evolution to where competition comes in, and it kind of parallels what I've seen with a lot of youth athletes, and whether it's the school or the college squeezing performance out of them out at the expense of their own wellness and longevity, or the parents living vicariously through their kids. But there is this kind of journey from the beautiful game or the beautiful art like surfing to the pressure from competition. With surfing specifically, how was that humility lost? How was that tapping into just being one with the board kind of diluted by some of this pressure from competition now?
Well, it's just, you're not being with the wave. You're trying to force the wave, and you're trying to like not. Surfing is like, it keeps you so present. It's like I said, the only thing I can relate it to is like snowboarding or like jiu-jitsu, where like you really have to be in that moment. And surfing is, if you're like, I need to get 3 hits, 3 snaps to get the score I need to make this heat, instead of just like, you know what, the wave's actually giving me a nice face, I'm gonna do a big nice cutback, or I'm gonna like stall for a little bit to get a nice big wrap around, or that's a nice section, I'm gonna do it air, instead of just like, no, I gotta hit 3 big top turns, a big roundhouse cutback, and then I gotta do a big air 360 at the end to really solidify it, instead of just like, or just even riding funner equipment. Surfboards are like, you can get them all different kinds: twin fins, thrusters, quads, big, small, wide, fat, and it's like, it makes, oh my god, that made that wave so much more fun, instead of just like, I need my 5.9 high performance Porsche model thruster with the not $1,000 board with the $200 fins, and the wax has to be perfect, and it's not fun after a while, like, because at the end of the day, nobody cares. In the sense, like, like, people are watching, but at the end of the day, nobody knows who won the 1999 Sunset Contest. I don't remember, and I love surfing. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're just enjoying that moment of what this wave, this energy is coming towards you, like, and you make it to where you try to force it instead of just be with it, you've lost the point. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and I've seen that through my son, because being a North Shore dad is probably the most high pressure thing. It's like the ultimate soccer dad, because like, your son needs to be surfing pipe by the time he's 6 years old. Oh, he's not surfing pipe. Oh, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? So you're trying to play this fine line where you have to give him a little bit of shove, but not do it to where like he hates it. You've been around enough kids and soccer parents to where it's like, the kid hates it. He doesn't want to be there. And it's like, I want my son to do what my dad did to me and just show me the love of surfing, or just being in the ocean. Like, my son loves body surfing. Like, yesterday he was on a wave storm, which is like a longboard. And then the day before that, he was on the shortboard. Like, I just want him in the water playing around. He was on a boogie board last night when we went to Waimea. Like, he's just so psyched to be in the water. And all I want him to do is just go on a surfer trip with me. I just want him to surf with me, because I think he even thought I had the full, I was like a little win as a father. I got the full, "I'm not you, Dad," comment one time when we were surfing. And I was like, because I was trying to get him, hey, son, pal over here. Hey, scoot up on the board, scoot back. And he got frustrated with me, and he said that line to me, and I started laughing. I was like, hey, I don't want you to be a pro surfer. I really don't. If you do, cool. But I just want to surf with you, son. Like, this is just me and you bonding. Like, I just want to surf with you. And it kind of like, I could see in his brain, I think he was 10 at the time. He was like, oh, yeah, dude, I'm not, because he sees all his other friends. You know, some are sponsored already, and their dads are just, get back out there. I want to see 3 more waves. And I was like, dude, I want to give you this gift. It's a beautiful gift to be able to surf and survive in the ocean and body surf and boogie board. I can give you any piece of equipment. Boogie board, fins, no fins, a paddle board, a stand-up board. And I want you to be able to go out there and just have a blast no matter what the conditions are, 20 feet or ankle high. And so, it's hard to explain that to a kid, but like, that's my mission. It's like, yeah, of course, we're all dads. You would love to see your son up there on a podium winning, but like, if he's just amped on surfing and he passes it on to my grandson or granddaughter, I'm blessed. Yeah, I've done my job as far as what my father's given me, and it's given me the best life ever through surfing, through the ocean.
I think that's what people need to hear. I mean, like you said, if you end up being that kind of unicorn, you're going to find your way to the top anyway. The kid's just going to be, starting to win all these tournaments. Say, okay, we do need to bring in a coach. Okay, now he's thriving. And the next thing he's Kelly Slater. Okay, that's the 0.0 whatever 1%. But this whole rhetoric of, what's the term they use? Participation trophies. It's like, well, that's what kids are supposed to do. They're supposed to play sports. They don't even need a trophy, but they don't need to be told that if they don't win everything, that they're a piece of shit. That's not the message. Like, just let the kid play sport. I think this is something that we got to refine is, there's a select group that are going to go and win the tournaments, and that's great. But everyone else, like, I can't stand the whole bench warmer thing. Like, my son just joined a volleyball thing last summer, and it was one of those club tournaments. And he and several other kids rode the bench the entire time. And I'm not deluded. My son isn't the best player on the team, but he sure as shit wasn't the worst either. So,
right.
And they were like, well, we want to make sure that we win. Like, that's missing the point. These kids just want to play the sport of volleyball. And I guarantee you they'd be happy to rotate everyone through. So I think, what you're saying, staying connected to the love of the sport is so much more important than, air quotes, winning something.
No, I mean, we did baseball for 4 seasons, which me and my wife were not ball people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're just martial art and surfing people. But we're like, hey, it's a team sport. And he was into it. He wanted to do it. And they sucked. All of them, like, there was one good kid, and he would get frustrated. But the rest of them were like, just horrible. And the best part, my son would get in the car. This is when he was like 7, 8, 9, maybe 10. And he would get in the car after me. He's like, well, that was fun. I think he was just such little, like, chipper. And I was like, yeah, like, that's totally, me and my wife would look at each other like, okay, yeah, you did great, son. Like, and that was so cool for him to be like that. And then he even chose jiu-jitsu on his own. Because once you get to 10, it goes, has your kids done baseball yet?
No, we never got into baseball, actually.
Okay, so they go coach pitch, which is the coaches kind of lofting the ball at them. They get to hit. It's pretty awesome. And then they go player pitch. Player pitch is no joke. And he was getting into 10. I think 10 went up to 12 years old. And all of a sudden, these kids, the other team, is pitching this ball as fast as they can with no accuracy. So kids were just taking balls to the, like, leg, the head, and my son took a ball to the thigh and just dropped him. And he finished the season. And I remember at the little graduation and barbecue thing, and I was like, so, am I signing you up? And he was like, I think I'm going to take a break. I think I'm going to do jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? But it was his own choice. But, like, even jiu-jitsu, like, some of his teammates are, we had a Naga, which is like a local tournament over here last weekend. And my son's like, well, should I do it? And I'm like, no, not yet, man. Like, just have fun with it. Because I don't want you going in there and getting hard and then you hate it and you're crying. And I think going back to the not showing the importance of winning and losing is I still compete. I do like submission jiu-jitsu. I'm too old for MMA. I've done that dance. It's not enough money in it. But submission, jiu-jitsu is fun because it's kind of like MMA. I get an opponent. It's up on the stage. There's lights. It's a promotion. And so I still do that because I still got the itch to compete. But I've lost some and I've won some while my son is sitting there watching it. And he got frustrated on something. I forget what it was, maybe like a year ago. And I was like, hey, do you remember when I lost that match in front of everybody? Spotlights on me. Your mom, you, our whole team, tables, people, everyone know. Did I cry? Did I whine? Did I bitch? And I did all these things? He was like, no. I'm like, it doesn't matter, son. Like, you go out there and give your best. And, I don't care if you win or lose. Like, you know what I mean? If you go out there and just perform well and you make it an entertaining match, whatever it be, entertaining game, dude, you're good. Because, I just want you to fall in love with all these, whatever you get into, and not put so much pressure on yourself. Now, if you're 19 and it's a state championship, okay, we got to crank up that knob a little bit more. But when you're 10 or 12, just be a kid, dude. You got your whole rest of your life to be stressed out and pressure. Like, just have fun with it. I think that's what we get lost with kids. Like, we want them to, especially nowadays with Instagram, how many videos you see of like a kid shadowboxing is 7 or 6. And they're like, oh, look at this phenom, or he's surfing pipeline at 6 years old, whatever it is. I know it's an exaggeration, but like, just let the kid be a kid, dude. And especially now, I've been in the North Shore community for so long, and I've seen these kids go up like Kona. Like, Kona wasn't that great, you know what I mean? He wasn't that great of a surfer, and then all of a sudden he hit like 15, 16, 18. All of a sudden, like, that manhood, that adult strength, that mental came in, and like, kids can get so fast, or so good so fast, from 14, 15, pretty much 16. From 16 to 20, they can accelerate to a pro level insane amount. You know what I mean? But people, like, they want their 9-year-old to be a world champion, right? It's like, just let them enjoy that little 10 years of being a kid. You know what I mean? We get robbed of that, and then all of a sudden now you're taxes, and you got a girlfriend, and it's just it just goes on from there.
That reminds me, I did a tournament at my son's jiu-jitsu school years ago, and it was funny because it was supposed to be a no-gi bracket that I was in, but they had no one else doing no-gi, so they put a gi on me, and I was lost. But he got second, and I got second, so I got to watch him win one and lose one, and he got to watch me win one and lose one. There was three people in each of our brackets, and it was beautiful because it also debunks that my dad is Superman, that they have when they're younger, and be like, no, it's okay. Like you said, the lesson of him watching me lose, and like you said, trying to be a good sportsman, and congratulations to the person that beat you, that is such a powerful lesson versus, oh yeah, my dad always wins gold, because that's not teaching them anything then. You're again more on a pedestal then. So being humble enough to say, yeah, I lost, the guy was better than me, you lost, the kid was better than you, let's brush ourselves off and get back to it. That was one of the most powerful moments I've had with my son to date.
That's epic. That's a great story. That's a cool moment. And you showed him, you won't know it now. How old's your son now?
He's now almost 18.
Yeah. So like, he'll remember that. Like, he'll remember how that was such a cool moment. He'll take losses so much easier. And maybe, I fire him up instead of like, some people take a loss and they're just done. They're mentally depressed and everything. Instead of being like, well, okay, on to the next. What's the next tournament?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to adjust that little motion. If you can get them, their mindset in that's where you get the world champions, instead of the ones that are just like throwing their board or, stomping off the mat. Like, you don't want that, kids, because that's going to translate into when your marriage gets hard, or when your job gets hard, or I lost my job and I can't pay for rent, or whatever it is. Oh, I give up. It's like, we don't want that,
No, absolutely. No, he was about 8 when I competed with him, and he did several tournaments after that and lost every single one of them. And it was heartbreaking to watch as a dad. He just didn't have that kind of aggression in him at that point. But again, right. I watched him deal with loss several times. And he got into track and cross country, and track he actually did really well, ran a sub 5-minute mile. So that mental toughness from those losses then carried over to a completely different sport.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back and look, was it Michael Jordan lost everything, got kicked off his varsity team. Like, there's so many, the rare ones of where somebody always wins, like the John Joneses are like the 0.0000001% of like the population. Everybody loses. Nobody's Superman. And it's just, but how do you pull the Rocky and keep getting up and go put your mouthpiece back in and go, okay, let's do it again. Or just smile. I'm still here. I got 4 limbs. My girlfriend loves me, my boyfriend loves me, my kid loves me. I still looking at the sky. Like, you kind of have that little hippie-ish mindset. Like, you can take on the world. Nothing's going to bother you. Because you're mentally got that grit. If you have that grit to go, okay, I'll bite my teeth, go, oh, I lost, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep coming forward. You know what I mean? I think that's a lost art in most kids, because they'll get like, well, it's okay. It's, oh, you don't need to do it. You can quit. You can, and it's like, no. Like, finish the game and let's do this, because it's going to help you down the road. At least I think. It helped me for sure, because I lost so many surfing heats. And I was like, oh, well, I'll go try again. So.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned about your dad doing Taekwondo, which actually was my first main martial arts I competed with when I was younger. Walk me through your martial arts journey, how you found MMA and then the beginning of the Jiu-Jitsu especially.
It's kind of fun. It's one of those ones, don't judge a book by its cover. The kid in high school that was super quiet, dorky. Like, my dad tried to get me in Taekwondo when I was 10 or 11, hated it. I think I got like, what's the belt after white? Is it like orange?
Orange, I think it was. So, yeah, or yellow.
Yeah,
one of those two.
Like one belt. I did one little thing, hated it, just wanted to surf. And then dad kind of backed off, like, okay, you don't have to do it, just surf, as long as you're in the water, as long as you're outside. He's like me. Just as long as you're outside, you can do whatever you want. I don't care what it is, just be outside. So I surfed, moved to the North Shore. I think I was 20. So I would surf all day, work all day. Didn't have a girlfriend, living in a shoebox at Sunset Point, living the dream. Rent was $500. It was literally like a room and like a bathroom. But I was stoked. I could literally walk out to Sunset Point. So I was living the dream. But at night, I swear I probably have adult ADHD, because I'm one of those people, like, I need to do stuff. Like, I'm just active. I want to live life to its fullest. So I always want to do stuff. But I caught myself at home that wasn't out, chasing girls or going to hang out with the boys. I would sit at home and drink. Not much. I like drunk, 2 Coors Lights. And I just remember being like, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something I can do at night. And there was an old rec center down the road from me that they were doing jiu-jitsu at. And one of my coworkers was like a purple belt, big husky guy, and he kept on telling me, hey, you gotta try jiu-jitsu, like it. And I was verbatim, remember, I was like, that shit's gay, dude. I'm not gonna roll out something like that is the gayest thing in the world, dude. Like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. And I remember he tried everything. He's like, dude, there's girls there. You get to roll around with girls. Like, it's like he was trying to sell me. And I was like, eh. And I remember a whole year I was just like, no, I'm not it. No. And it was 6 days after my 20th birthday. I was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to do it. And my dad was all excited. He sent me his old karate gi. I think everybody that starts jiu-jitsu shows up in a karate gi. Like, always do. This thing was super rough. It's like sandpaper. Ripped my knees up. And I remember that first night, it was like learning how to surf all over again. My first wave I ever stood up on. Just, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And I remember couldn't even move. Like, that first one, you're all just super tense and every muscle's sore. And I went home and I called my mom. I was like, I think I found my calling.
I think I'm gay.
Yeah, just so stoked. And I literally trained twice a day from then on. Literally went to 2 different gyms, because the rec center was only Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And I was like, well, I need more. So I found another gym, went Thursday, Friday. Literally got so obsessed. Like, watched every UFC video. I literally skipped out on a couple dates because it was no-gi night. I gotta go to no-gi night. Sorry, I can't. Like, you idiot. You missed out on a date to go jiu-jitsu, but I was just so infatuated with it. And just obsessed. 6 months later, got my blue belt, just competed, just had an amazing experience with it. And then my dad, of course, was a Taekwondo guy. So he's a striking, he's a stand-up guy. So there was always that little like, well, you got to learn some stand-up, son. You got to learn some stand-up. And I was like, no, but jiu-jitsu, you don't need to. You find the range, you close the distance, you take him down. He's like, yeah, but you gotta be more well-rounded. Fine. So the one jiu-jitsu school I was going to had a Muay Thai class. Okay, I'll do that. So that was just another obsession of mine. I got into that. Did that. All of a sudden, I went to one of my coaches, like, he just got back from Thailand. And I thought going to Thailand was like this mystical thing that you can never accomplish. And he's like, no, you can totally do it. I'll give you, like, how to take a taxi, where to stay, where to train. One of my coworkers had been going down there forever. So he's like, hey, you want to come with me? And I'll show you the ropes so you don't get robbed, you don't get taken. Thailand's very safe. It's a Buddhist country, but you still get taken advantage of. Took me down there. My first gym I went into, luckily, was Golden Glory, which was like, do you remember Golden Glory, like the Hollister Overeem days?
K1. I recognize, his name.
Okay,
yeah.
So like this was like 2009, 10. So K1 was kickboxing was like exploding in Japan. Hollister Overeem was Ubereem, just juiced out of his mind. And the first gym I walked into was this gym called Golden Glory, which was the biggest kickboxing gym in Europe. They're from Deutschland, Netherlands. And so I walked in, and so I had these MMA guys that were in the UFC. I had high-level kickboxers, and I had the Thais. I just walked into like the heaven. I did that. I came back. My coach was like, hey, you want to do a Muay Thai fight? Yeah, sure. Did that one. Did another one. And then I was like, I'm a grappler first. Probably should maybe try to use that jiu-jitsu a little bit. And so I signed up for a pancration fight. That was the worst idea in the world because I didn't know the class. I don't know how fighting is in the rest of the United States, but Hawaii, it's like they'll tell you one thing and then you show up the day of the fight and it's a whole other thing. So it was like pancration is supposed to be like Boss Rudin style, like puffy gloves, shin guards. It's striking, but once it goes to the ground, there's no striking. Which, as a grappler, totally doesn't help because you can't use strikes to soften up the guy to open up a choke or anything. So I was like, okay, cool, but it's big gloves and shin guards. Okay, yeah, I'll take the fight. Who's the guy? Oh, he's some guy from Japan. Okay, yeah, I'll take the fight. Go there, show up. I show up, weigh in. Day of the fight, they give me MMA gloves, like 4-ounce MMA gloves. I'm like, what are these? He's like, these are your gloves. I'm like, where's the shin guards? He's like, oh, yeah, we changed the rules. It's still pancration, but it's MMA. So no shin guards, MMA gloves, but no strikes on the ground still. Okay. Had no idea who my opponent was, Japanese guy. Go in the fight. Turns out the guy's a pro boxer from Japan. So breaks my nose in the first 2 seconds. Because when we squared off at the weigh-ins, he stood regular. So I'm like, okay, never saw any tape of him or anything. This is before we watched tape. And so when he gets there, he turns southpaw. I don't know how to fight a southpaw. I haven't fought. This is my first fight. So I don't have a coach that's like, hey, don't walk towards your right. You're going to walk right into a straight cross. Guess what I did in the first 2 seconds? Walked straight into a right cross. Broke my nose. Blood all over the ring girls. Whatever. I kept on taking him down, but I couldn't use strikes. But as soon as we get up, he would throw 10 punches, I'd throw 1. Because he was just so pop, 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 pop. And I'd be like, and that was it. And it was just, I actually won the fight, just through grit. Guys kept coming forward, taking him down. And all of a sudden I was like, it was an entertaining fight. So all of a sudden the day after I got calls from all these local promoters like, hey, we got that fight. Like 3 months later, I was fighting for a belt in Kauai. It just escalated so quickly to where I was fighting for Pro Elite, which was Strikeforce at the time, at the Blaisdell against Ray Cooper, who, he's Ray Cooper, the big fucking guy that won $1 million. He won PFL twice. He's a good friend of mine. But all of a sudden I was standing across the cage from him, in the Blaisdell. I'm like, wait, how did I get here? Because rewind, if you would have met me at 14, skinny, 125 pounds, huge Rob Machado afro. He was my idol surfing. Didn't get in one fight. I got bullied a lot because I was a white kid in Hawaii. So I got punched a lot, but I never threw a punch back. So, but you translate from that guy at high school and elementary and intermediate to where I was at 28. I think my last fight was 28. Was just a journey in itself, because you never know. That dorky, skinny guy that doesn't want any confrontation, just wants to be friends with everybody, scared to death to talk to girls, fighting one of the baddest men on the planet in the middle of the big Blaisdell Convention Center in Honolulu. Crazy journey. And then after that, Ray knocked me out. I had gnarly CTE after that. And my wife was 6 months pregnant. I was been a lifeguard for almost 10 years at that time. So I was like, yeah, okay, And I remember Brandon Vera, UFC fighter, was like, wait, you have a job? I was like, yeah, I have a job. He's like, you can't do this. You can't, because I wanted to go Strikeforce. I wanted to go UFC. That was my goal. Like, I wanted to, just like surfing, I wanted to hit that top goal. But the difference between surfing and this one was I was going to have to make a big sacrifice. I was going to have to quit lifeguarding, probably move my family to Vegas to get the real training partners, and give up an ocean lifestyle. Even if I moved to California, still it's a change. And I was like, the brain kind of stuff kind of scared me to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm good. You know what I mean? And I still spar to this day. I still, get in there and help guys, and just, I'm still there. But like, I was like, I don't, as much as I love MMA and I love fighting, I love surfing more. And I think lifestyle wise, raising my child then to be in the ocean in Hawaii was worth it more than my sacrifice to be a fighter in Vegas or, Florida, because that's the hubs, Vegas, California, Florida. That's, if you want to be a pro fighter, you got to move there. It's just, if you want to succeed. So that's the long-winded story of my martial art. Now my wife is, almost a brown belt. My son, is a yellow belt, and we train all the time. That's my new journey, is just getting my wife her black belt and getting my son to whatever he wants to be, just a capable man that can protect himself, that once again, I don't like people just like surfing are like, oh, do you want your son to be a pro fighter? No, I mean, it's a rough, talk about surfing's rough, fighting's really rough. No money. It's a long journey, injury, CTE, all that stuff. But I will train him in fighting, in MMA, in Jiu-Jitsu, in Muay Thai, in wrestling, because I want him to walk around this world not a victim. That was my dad saying. He's like, I don't want you to be a fighter, but I don't want you to be a victim. And that's my thing with my son. If he becomes a UFC heavyweight champion, hey, that's a great thing. But I just don't want him to be that guy that's scared to walk down the alley because he doesn't know how to protect himself. So that's my new MMA journey, martial art journey.
I love that phrase. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I think that's so true, because I mean, even myself, I've never been a competitive full contact fighter apart from the WTF Taekwondo, where you could knock them out with your feet, but you could only punch to the stomach. That was about as high as I got in the competition side and the full contact side. But was a training partner for a lot of people that ended up in the UFC. I trained at Shootbox in LA for a little bit. Anthony Johnson was one of the guys I used to spar with. So you can still get good and be a weekend warrior, and like you said, help raise other people up without actually going all the way and being a competitor and taking some of the damage that some of these people do.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, still, like, I have like a great little MMA gym that I train with in Waipahu, and then even like a bunch of us older MMA guys, I think we're all 40, but like, the 3 guys I train with have all been in the UFC, but we sit there and put small gloves on, shin guards, but we, it's like, it's old man sparring. It's real touch, but it's good because we're not sitting there getting CTE. It's stupid. We've all had a bunch of wars and we don't need to do that, but we still keep our skills sharp because it's, heavy leg kicks, heavy takedowns, heavy that stuff, but the punches are controlled, but it's allowing me and you to stay in the pocket where, and I go to the Hawaii Elite, which is a great gym, but you got a bunch of young boys there, and I walked out of there with a headache where I'm like, I don't want to do that, man. Because they're young. They're 20, and they see me as some little stepping stone, like, oh, I can beat that black belt or whatever. And they just come at me just 100%. And it's like, your brain's a scary thing, man. Like, you got to protect that thing. It's just so – and 20, you're full of piss and vinegar, and you want to take over the world. That's cool. But at my age, I'm like, okay, I want to be 60 and still throwing the gloves on and sparring with my son and some old guys at the UFC gym, just to kind of stay, because I love it. I actually genuinely love it. It's so fun, so addicting. But I'm looking to more of longevity wise to it, and still staying sharp because I still got to protect my family. I still got to show my son that what a man is supposed to do, protect your family. So it's and it's what martial arts has done is made me so much more confident as a man and less. I probably said this so many times in the story. It's I never got into a fight, a street fight, after after the first day I ever started training. And it was only when I signed the contract to actually go, I'm going to fight you on June 7th. Before that, growing up as a white kid in the 80s and 90s, is you ask any local white kid that grew up in Hawaii during those times, it was brutal. Because we're the minority. Nowadays, it's a lot different. My son won't really ever see it. But in the 80s and 90s, especially on the Big Island, it's predominantly local Hawaiian and Japanese. So I was the token white guy. So it was a lot of bullying towards me because I was the colonizer. I was, kids in third grade were telling me so much that I was from California that I actually thought I was from California. You know what I mean? Because they was well, you're a white guy. You should be from California. And I remember going home Dad, I'm from California, right? And he's like, what? You know what I mean? So but guys would call me Holly or, other discriminatory names. And I'd be like, all right, we're fighting. Put my head down and start swinging. But the day I started training, it brought this, and I'm sure you've been around the martial arts guys, the most badass assassin, world champion, black belt, Muay Thai world champions, 9 times out of 10 are the nicest, most calm, cool guys you'll ever meet. Hey brother, how are you? Good to see you. Where the guy that been in his street fights, never trained in his day in his life is, what, bro? What? You like scrap? What? You know what I mean? They're trying to overcompensate. Where martial art, I've been in altercations since then, but they've never gone to a fist fight because they can either I go, yeah, cool man, yeah, I'm a bitch, gotcha, cool, and I just walk away. Or martial arts, you've seen it. It actually makes people a little bit more. They have an energy to them.
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm not prey. I'm not prey because predators want prey. They want the easy guys that's going to back down and cower. You see somebody walk around with the shoulders back, they just kind of have that chin up, that little bit of a. Of course, my ears probably don't help show up either, but I don't want to mess with that guy because I'm going to go to the hospital. I might win, but I'm probably going to go to the hospital at some point. So, and I've even seen it with my wife. She tells a story. She lived in New York for a couple of years, and she was the one female of all her friends that never got robbed. Never got never got, with a knife or anything like that. Because you watch my wife, she missed her calling. She would have been a badass MMA fighter. We were just a little behind the time. But she walks and she can take care of herself to the point where you can tell I don't want to mess with that one. And it doesn't matter. I'm a small guy. I'm 5'7" and some change. I'm not a big 6'2" guy. But I can tell with martial arts, it's brought me to the point where I'm not cocky, but I'm just I got this confidence in me, I'm not the one. But if you really want to go there, all right, let's fucking go, man. You know what I mean? It's going to end quickly. So I think I want to translate that to my son and young men that I introduce into martial arts because it only makes them better, young and women, confident. They're not going to try to pick a fight to prove themselves over a girl, over a guy at a party or at in the parking lot trying to prove us something. They're just going to be it only can help, I think, personally. Have you ever seen that in young people when they get martial arts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the best example of that is some of the most dangerous people I know in the police world have been hands-on less than any of their peers. Because when it goes to detaining someone, people look at them and go, yeah, I'm not going to try running from that guy. And they don't have to do anything. They're just in good shape. And a lot of them are, black belts in jiu-jitsu or whatever their background is. And they exude that confidence. And then also I'm going to touch wood now because I'll probably get my ass kicked today when I leave the house. But up until this point, even the limited ability that I have, and I'm not being overly humble, it's just true. I've never been, like I said, a professional fighter or anything, but just having that physicality, especially when we get older. When you're a 51-year-old dude that's still in shape, people look at you a little bit more like, okay, what's he hiding? So
Yeah.
I think just it's such a good I forget the term they use now, but it's such a good deterrent for a lot of, like you said, opportunistic violence when you simply carry yourself. And because I've done this many times, you have the humility, your ego can take it. They go, no, I don't want any trouble. You'd kick my ass. You're such a big, strong man. I'm just going to walk away. I've done that before. And then you walk away and go, God, that's all I needed to say was just stroke their ego a little bit, and neither of us got into a fight. So I think the ability coupled with the humility, I think, is the superpower.
Oh, it's totally a superpower, because it's just like, and martial arts has also given me like, because in the fight, like I said before, your first fight, you're breathing hard. Your first even jiu-jitsu match, you're holding on to the guy's gi for dear life, and you can't hear your coach at all. You know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden, boom, times. You're like, wait, what happened to the 5-minute match? Translate, you go 2 years down the road, you get into another, you've done 30 jiu-jitsu matches. Now you're calm. You can hear your coach. All right, push the knee aside, pass to the left. You can hear it. You start doing it. You can see the sweat on your opponent's, head. And the same thing with fighting. Like my first fight, don't remember it. I think I was walking, I always tell the story, I was walking down the stairs, in the intro, crying, happy, scared, angry, crying. You're just going through all these emotional adrenaline dumps. Don't remember anything. Literally blacked out. I won the fight, but blacked out. And then 4 or 5 fights later, I could hear my wife, my girlfriend at the time, screaming, hands up, Kyle, or whatever it was, And so when it comes to like lifeguarding, you're in such this high pressure moment, like of just, oh my God, this person's dying. What's wrong with them? Lifeguarding is really unique compared to EMS or police, unless those guys roll up on scene. Like the accident happens in front of them. Us, like EMS, they'll get a call from us. Hey, we got a 52-year-old male, condition 5. We're doing CPR right now. So they kind of get in their frame of mind, okay, we need to administer this drug, do this, we gotta get the gurney out, where lifeguarding is like, me and you can be sitting here in the tower talking with each other, blah, 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 and then boom, somebody cracks their head a pipe. Your whole world just got turned upside down. Now you've got to bring this person to shore. Okay, are they, is it a head injury? Is it this? Is it that? Is it broken back? Is it possible broken femur? Okay, how are we going to administrate them? How are we going to, oxygen? Are we doing AED? Like all is EMS rolling? Hey, we need to move them up. We're about to get hit by a wave. Get them on the backboard. All these little things where if you panic and you're not hearing anybody, you're not working well as a team, somebody could die. Let alone you getting knocked out or losing a jiu-jitsu match. Somebody could die, and it's on you in a sense. So martial arts, especially fighting, MMA has made me a better lifeguard 100%, because nothing's more terrifying than having another grown man that's capable in the art trying to beat the hell out of you, and you trying to win and use strategy and ring craft and timing and range, compared to go lifeguarding, to where, what do you do? Okay, the person's dead, go. Bring him the water. What are you going to do? And it's your friend. I'll sprinkle that on top of you. You know the person. Oh, and their whole family's around you screaming, yelling at you to do something. Go. Try to be calm. It's gnarly. And I thank God for martial arts who gave me that extra, because it made me a better lifeguard for sure. And I think I've helped save people's lives through that,
Talk to me about the fitness standards and the requalification that you are required to do in your department as a lifeguard.
So we have an annual physical, and it's just a run, swim, run. Run 100 yards, 100 meters. No, sorry, 1,000 yards swim under a certain time. And then you have a paddleboard, down, back, under a certain time. And then you have like a full-on swim, sprint. You pass that, pretty much good for the year. We have a 2-day refresher, go through medical situations, sexual harassment, there's a whole book side to it. And then second day is more like scenario. We'll go out in the field and we'll go like, okay, where's your waves? Oh, North Shore has waves. We'll go to North Shore. Okay, go have, we have fun with it. That's the cool of it. The guys at training is we'll be practicing. Okay, two of you on the rescue board. Let's go out to Macking Chuns and we'll lose the board, and and you try to practice rescue guys, or we'll go to Sandy's and we'll do fins and tube rescues, or we'll go to Macaw. So it's fun, and it's like, dude, you're getting paid to do this. Some guys hate it. I don't know why. I'm like, this is fun. As far as the annual performance test that you have to pass, I'm kind of old school in the way where I think you should be able to do that every day. I know a lot of guys, unless you're like 65, then I can give you a little bit of pass. But if you're anywhere under 50, I think you should be able to, like me and you, go do it right now.
100%.
Because I don't want to be that person that has a heart attack or I can't swim out through shore break to rescue somebody, like especially on the North Shore. If you want to be a North Shore lifeguard, everybody wants that title. It's a very pretty title. Everybody wants it nowadays. You better be a black belt, dude. I don't want no blue belt. I want a black belt out. I want a brown and black belt out here that's gonna like keep on point. And I think we're the only agency that actually has a performance test annually. I don't think fire does. I don't think police does. I don't know what EMS does. But we're also the few agencies where you're given a workout every day. Every day you go to work, you are guaranteed a workout. Like, you can go surfing, you can go working, go lift weights, you can run, you can swim, you can dive, you can paddleboard, you can do all these things. The city is paying you to stay on top. So I kind of, out of respect to the job, always want to be, besides my own lifestyle, I want to be, like I said, fighting when I'm 60 and 70. I want to be rolling around with my grandson or granddaughter. Like, I want to be doing that. I want to be surfing until I'm drop dead, at 90. So, but with lifeguarding, I don't want to ever miss a step because I've just been sitting back on my phone and just not working out and sleeping on my breaks. Like, I think you're disrespecting the job, and I think you're disrespecting your coworkers on that. So it does sound strenuous, but you should be able, I think if you especially want to work in North Shore, you should be able to do that now. Let's go. Stretch a little bit, but let's go. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's kind of on you to stay active and stay fit.
See, this is what's so interesting. Like, I had Jason Bitzer on, I've had some other ocean lifeguards on, and it reminded me of when I was guarding. I can't remember if the Red Cross was every year or 2 years, but I would do it every year on summer camps there in the open water on lakes. And then, like I said, the pool lifeguarding, I think that might have been 2 years, but regardless, within 24 months, if you don't pass those tests, you're not a lifeguard. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And then you go into fire and EMS, and there is no standard. You might be put through the crucible in the academy, but after that, there's not a standard, but there are administrations or unions that will fight there being a fitness standard. And I just never understood that, because unlike you, where, when you're guarding on a lake or on a beach, you get your 1 hour break, and right, I'm going to go for a swim. I'm going to swim to the buoy and back, whatever it is. Immediately, right. You have the ability to do that. We do go from, mundane, someone rolled an ankle, now we got a tummy ache. Now it's a 28-story building and there's a fire on the top floor and the elevators are out. So it can go from 0 to 100. And I just don't understand how we've allowed the profession to fight the very thing that not only allows us to perform at a high level, but also forges longevity, because we lose so many first responders to heart disease and other elements of obesity.
Yeah, I mean, I think, was it called Police Post? There's someone on Instagram I follow, and he's really about just, come on, guys, you guys stay fit. Like, you can't, show, especially police, man, you guys be on top of your game. You're actually going to be physical with somebody. My job is I'm going to be physical with somebody because I have to lift their dead body or lifeless body, or even if they're alive, through the most hazardous conditions up soft sand, and might have to do that multiple times a day. You know what I mean? Like, some days I think my record was Waimea Bay on this crazy swell. We had 18 rescues. It was just, there was a contest. There was a body surf contest. And it was I remember coming out of the heat and running down and seeing my partners jump into the water because this little rip just sent out 5 people at one time. And it was just, it's nonstop. So I should be able to come out, sprint down the beach, sprint down, grab somebody and not be out of breath and freaking out, and bring them in, be able to dry off, boom, do it again. I don't know. I think I don't see how that's a problem. I think if you are in love with the lifestyle, it is a lifestyle. Lifeguarding, you're not going to get rich. Most first responders, like when you talk to a fireman, they don't ever say, "Oh, I'm making so much money." What's their first thing of? It's what's the perk of a fireman? Days off, right? It's always like, "Oh, I get 3 days off in a row." Lifeguarding is like, dude, I get to be in the water all day. Yeah, I barely make enough to pay rent, but I'm living this lifestyle that most people work their whole year long to take their 2-week, their 21-day vacation to come here. You're living it every day. They're sitting there working, making all this money to save up to come live your lifestyle. If you keep that in your mind, everybody has their choice. Everybody wants, say, the Bugatti or a big house. My every day is worth $10 million. You know what I mean? I live $1 million lifestyle. I just don't have $1 million. But ask me when I'm 90 on my deathbed if I didn't make the right choice, and I'm pretty sure I think I'll still be like, dude, I lived a great life. I lived more than most men have ever do. So I don't know how you could give up when you're given an opportunity to stay fit, to do something most people wait till the weekend to do, to stay fit. Why can't you do that? So it always boggles my mind. I'm probably some guys don't like my attitude when I come to that, but I'm like, if you can't go work out or swim, you're in a 10-hour shift. We work 4 10s, 10-hour shift. You can't tell me 1 to 2 of those hours you can't go lift some weights, swim, surf. I think you need a new job. Not to be mean, but you need to go work for Parks and Recs or something. I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me.
I agree. It was interesting listening to Kona. They work 72 hours a week. A lot of our firefighters work 56. So there's this myth that they have all this time off. And actually on paper, if you look at it, they don't. They work crazy hours. So that, I'm trying to kind of bring the 42-hour work week to the fire service. So therefore they will have the rest and recovery, but then at the same time, simultaneously put fitness standards in where they should have been the whole time. Because I've always said it's very simple. Lives depend on you, whether it's your own, your partner's, the ability to go home to your family, or the people that we serve. So it should never have been without fitness standards. But if we are going to fix the things that are killing first responders, which a big part of it is the shift work, and get them where they have more rest and recovery, we should simultaneously demand for them to be held at a high standard. And just as you said, that will then reveal that not everyone that's wearing a uniform should be. And, I'm disliked probably from that, but I don't care. If my child died because you tapped out on the 5th floor of a building, it's too late. My kid's dead. But we can prevent that by putting in standards and holding standards. And just like, your swim test, it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 56, you either can or you can't. It's the same with my profession. You put on your gear to carry the equipment that we need. You either can or you can't. There's no lowering for ages. I think that part is ridiculous.
No, not at all. I mean, that's the profession you chose. You signed up for it. So it's not like we drafted you into being a lifeguard or a fireman. You signed up for it. You did it. Just like if you were a stock trader and you're not bringing those commissions in, I'm sorry, you're fired. You know what I mean? It's just which hard do you want? Mentally hard, not bringing commissions, or staying fit, surfing and swimming and running and eating right and getting your sleep and your stress relief and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm not a mental guy, not in that department, but I'm a physical guy. So shoot, sign me up. I'm doing it, but I like it. So maybe I'm a little different. So.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I want to talk about foundation training, but just before we do, when you reflect back now on the last 2 decades, what were some of the calls that you would term career calls that you had, some of the most memorable saves?
As far as the lifeguard?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just been so many crazy scenarios and rescues and to able to save somebody. I mean, there's not one particular one. It's definitely, I've been involved in a lot of head injuries at Pipeline, and going back to a lot of them were my friends. And so to be able to be there on a friend's worst day and be the face that they see, or the calm voice, or the help is, it's worth its more weight in gold, honestly. It's just, it's crazy. I like being the black cat. I call people black cats, because I know some lifeguards, they go years, nothing, maybe a stub toe, bee sting, And then there's guys that get every CPR case, they get every head injury, they get every drowning. And I was one of those guys, which I kind of like because I like being in the action, A. And B, I feel like I'm a good, this is probably the only time you ever hear me be cocky is like, I think I'm a good lifeguard. I think I'm built for the job. I'm present in the moment. I generally do love helping people. I keep myself physically fit. So it's like, I know I'm an asset to the team, to the SEAL team when we are working on somebody. So like, when we have people like Dusty Payne, several years got hurt, Cole Christian, Pipeline, more recently, my friend Mackay McNamara, like he almost died. He was dead when we pulled him up. Like he was dead. And to see him a couple days later at his house and give him a hug is just the most rewarding thing ever. You know what I mean? And that's just people I know. Just even the little ones of like, I remember this one girl dislocated her elbow, which I didn't think that was even possible when I made a shore break. And I remember helping her, keeping her calm till EMS and like having her all slinked up. She came back like 2 weeks later and like, took a picture of me. She was like 10, no, maybe 11 at the time. She was from Colorado. Guess what? She found me on Instagram like 5 years ago and she's 22 and like, and she still remembers it. Thank you so much, and just even junior guards, that's been the most rewarding thing to me is I've been doing it. This will be my 19th year as a junior guard instructor, being part of the program. So I got kids that I met that are 11 that are now, I can't even do the math, 40, 30, 31, 30? Ugh, makes me feel old. But they'll come up to me and be like, hey, Uncle Kyle, I'm still Uncle Kyle. That was the best week I ever had. Or, I helped, I got caught in a rip the other day and I used that training you taught me. You know what I mean? So to have these, that's 500 kids every summer. Like I can't even do the math of how many kids that I don't think I interacted with. And like it made a difference, but I did. For them to come and some of them became lifeguards, which is pretty awesome. But just all walks of life kids that are now grown adults that come up to me and remember me from a week-long session 10 years ago, and still I'm Uncle Kyle, and that was the best thing. That's really rewarding to me. I think the junior guard program and helping those kids and being part of their lives, and then helping my friends like Mackay and those guys survive and live, and just anybody I've helped in this community, that's the most rewarding thing to me. It's just I've given back to a community that's given so much to me, and surf community, the kids of this whole island. I'm a happy man. I'm blessed to be able to do that. So that's my wins.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, let's expand on the junior lifeguard program a little bit. A lot of the people I've had on the show, a lot of us, had rough upbringings, and more often than not, there was a mentor. And it could be a female history teacher, it could be a junior lifeguard instructor, but there was someone or a handful of people that steered them into that right direction. And even with the recruitment crisis that we have in the first responder professions at the moment, where I see you can affect recruitment, you can even affect diversity because you're inviting people to come and reach that bar and giving them the training. I think mentorship is one of the least discussed but most important elements of helping your community and raising young people up and setting them on a path to actually thrive rather than maybe spiral downwards. So what are some of the success stories when it comes to the junior lifeguard program, and what are you seeing overall as far as the impact that's having on your community?
I mean, it's literally changing trajectory of lives. I mean, I think drowning is the number one death in Hawaii as far as young youth, which is crazy. Number one death is drowning. We live on an island. We're Polynesian people, Japanese, we're water people in a sense. So that means kids, in the central part of Oahu, Waipahu, Pearl City, Eva Beach. These kids they live on an island, yet they're not strong swimmers. Or they don't have ocean knowledge of like, maybe I shouldn't go in the water at Waimea because it's 8 to 10 feet. And, I'm not capable. Or if they do find themselves in trouble, they don't know what to do. If they're getting sucked down the rip, they don't know to go, side of it though. They panic and start swimming back this way. So there's one story where there was these two brothers, and if anybody knows Oahu, they're from like the Kahala side of the island, which is like kind of inland, but It's more of the richer area, just, more mall people. I might get hell for that, but just they're not ocean people in the sense. And the mom drove them up every day. There was two. There was a younger brother that was in the younger program, and there was a brother in the older one. And they signed up the younger one first. Kind of he was kind of out of shape, a little chubby. Parents were, full, Japanese, so they weren't like that first generation. They just weren't water people. And she's like, I just want my son to be capable. And he's real quiet. That Monday, he was the last one on the run, last one on the swim. And then, but by Friday, oh my God, that kid made friends. He was in the middle of the pack. I'm not saying it's like a Disney movie where he was winning it, but he was in the middle of the pack. And then he inspired his older brother to sign up for the Eukai program. So we have a 8 to 11-year-olds program at Waimea. That's the first month of June. And then we take a break, and then we go 4 weeks of the older kids, which is 12 to 17. So we got a big demographic. So the brother, I think, was 15. 14, 15, whatever. But his younger brother inspired him, so he did the older one. And the younger one even jumped in a couple run swims because they were so inspired. And the mom was just like in tears when I talked to her on the Friday, like, oh my God, you changed it. The older son, never surfed, never swam, like just, guess what now? He's a surf instructor. He's all about surfing. Like, I guarantee he'll probably become a lifeguard. Like, his trajectory went from like, not to be mean, but like working at the mall at GameStop to where like he got shown this love of ocean by just a 1 week program to where now he's a surf instructor and in the ocean surfing all day long and just happy. He's lost, like I saw him last summer and he's lost some weight. He looked good. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool to see that kind of like that change. And I see it every week. There's always one or two kids that first week, that first Monday, and then by Friday, they're just, it's like a totally different kid. They just walk differently. They got a glow to them. I mean, there was one kid last year where I had to go full David Goggins on him. Just like, he wasn't fat or anything, but he was just no ambition, no drive, no grit, no nothing. Like, and he Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was like just pulling teeth. And I had to lie. And I was like, the kids would be way down with the run, swim, and on to the next activity. And he'd still just be there just paddling like this. And I'd be right next to him. Full David Goggins. You got this. Come on. That's one of the parents called me. It's like, oh my God, Kyle, you're like David Goggins to that poor kid. Guess what happened Thursday? We have a thing called a burners where we do swim. You come up, you do 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 abs, and then you do like an army crawl and you do it again. It's kind of like a punishment when the kids are messing around, but they liked it. He, of course, is the last one. And then I swim with him. He's swimming a little bit better, a little bit less complaining, because before he was just doggy paddling, he's actually put his head down. And we get up to the sand, and he's like, will you do abs with me? Just that little comment. Before it was like, you do the push-up, like, like even make the noise. I was just like, oh my God. He was like, well, do you want to do abs with me? I was like, yeah, I'll do abs with you. And he fully, did the abs. He's okay, it's push-ups time. So this kid that was fully, I didn't mean his parents or anything like that, but he had fully given up on himself. I can't do it. I won't do it. I don't want to do it. To where like just that little bit of an uncle status. In Hawaii, it's all about uncles and aunties. And I gave him that uncle love in the sense of like, I got you. I'm here with you. We can do it. I'm going to give you that little push you need. And he changed. And it was like Thursday was just like this whole new kid. And it works for the females too. Like my wife, she got into the junior guards and has been an inspiration for the females, because most of us is all male instructors, because it's all lifeguards that instruct. But we have a huge demographic of young females from 8 to 17. So my wife, who's a badass athlete, in shape, ripped, everything, guess who she's inspiring? All these little 8-year-old girls, because she knows she's auntie. Oh, I love you. Oh, auntie, do you like my new bathing suit? All right, let's do the run swim. And she'll run with all the girls, and then they all flock around here. So like she's showing these young girls, which translates back to what we were talking about, the Instagram and all that stuff. She's showing what a female should look like: strong, fit, capable, not just skinny and look at my tits and ass and that's all I'm good for. Like showing her like I can be beauty and strength and bronze about it. So it's been so cool the last couple of years after COVID, because we took a break during COVID, obviously the world did. And then she got really involved in restarting it up, and she's been such an inspiration to the girls. Like, I've been doing it for so long, I know I'm kind of inspiring these young men and women, but let's just get a female in there that's strong and beautiful and can do all these things, inspire them, is like, oh my God, I'm excited to see what this generation turns into on the North Shore as far as these kids. That's a long-winded story.
No,
that's pretty awesome.
That's great, though. And I think this is the thing, is when kids see themselves in someone who's doing it. I've got a friend, Steve O'Michelle, who's first generation after his mother moved them here from Haiti, lived in arguably one of the worst areas of Orlando in absolute poverty, became a firefighter. Actually, he got a scholarship as a football player, then became a firefighter, and then worked back in his neighborhood. So these young kids saw him as a firefighter. And I think it's the same, with the women and any other group that feels underrepresented. But it's also, that's why it's important to be in shape. If you're going to be that figure that everyone's looking at, that you need to make sure that you walk the walk as well and truly inspire these young people. Not, for example, say, well, they lowered the bar for me, so you can come in now. That's not the message we want. You rose to the bar, which is admirable, and now you inspire young people to do the same.
Oh, humans are amazing species. Like, we are so more capable than we put on. And like, I see with the kids, because when we first did the 8 to 11 year olds, we treat the 8 to 11 year olds just the same as the older kids. The older kids program has been around for a lot longer than the younger kids. And so I was always part of the older kids. So when I went to the younger ones, I'm like, well, it was kind of a filling out process, but I treat them just the same. I pushed them just as hard, of course, a lot more hugs. 8 to 11 year olds, they need a lot more hugs. They're a little more, sweet that way. But the parents were like, I think the first couple weeks, I heard the murmurs of like, oh my God, they're just pushing our kids so hard. They're so hard, you know what I mean? But then the kids were doing it. The kids were crushing it. They were coming up to this level of like, yeah, the kids, and all we're doing is paddling around, using fins, running, swimming, push-ups, squats, like just using our body. Your kids are made to use their body, and they're not. So they're totally capable. And, especially in Hawaii, I feel like, at least knowing my son won't listen to me at all when it comes to like surfing and jiu-jitsu. Like, some of it trickles in. But guess when we go to kids class at jiu-jitsu, guess who he listens to? The other black belts. He don't listen to me. And I know that. And so I'll teach the other kids. And when I see my son making a mistake, I can tell my other black belts that are on the mat, they'll go and help him. So I can see these kids are not going to, talk to their parents or listen to their parents, but they're going to listen to Uncle Kyle or Auntie Tiff or Uncle Mikey. And I see that's how kids learn. And, I'm glad I'm just a positive, my family, my wife are a positive influence on these kids, because this is our future. This is the people who are going to be taking care of me when I'm old and senile. So I'm helping them out and making them better that way. So it's pretty cool, man.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good segue for the last thing. So how did you come across Jesse and Eric and foundation training, and what impact has that had on your own physicality and wellness?
Oh my God. So I met Jesse through Kahea Hart, who's a big time like sports professional, ex-pro surfer around here. And we were surfing one day. He's like, hey, I got a friend that wants to do Muay Thai, because I was coaching, holding pads, and he's like, you might like him. He didn't tell me he was doing foundation. And I'm like, oh yeah, you vouch for him. Yeah, son, give him my number. And then I met Jesse, and it was like a full bromance. It was like we have that same energy, same thirst for fitness and life. He was a first responder. He was a fireman. I'm a lifeguard. He loves martial arts. And if you met Jesse, he's just happy. He's just a happy sight guy. And he's helped me a lot through actually a lot of training camps. Like, before, I was not stretching. I wasn't doing anything to repair my body. I was just like, oh, I touched my toes once. Okay, I'm good. Let's go straight into rolling or whatever. And what Eric and those guys have taught me, as far as this, it worked. Like, I had severe hip problems. Luckily, knock on wood, I've never had knee surgery. I've never had shoulder surgery. I probably will eventually, but like, I've saved my body from really having any bad surgeries or injuries. But I had a hip problem. My hip was tilted from a jiu-jitsu thing. And so Jesse was so good on just like, hey, let's go through a founder. let's go through an archer. And I was like, oh my God, like I could feel things just moving around, and and then he actually helped me a lot with my strength and conditioning. I was lifting wrong. I was doing too much, actually. I was lifting, I was doing, like I said, I feel like I have a little attention deficit. I'm always constantly doing something. So I'd like, Thursday through Sunday, I'd lift every day. And then Monday was training. And of course, surfing's sprinkled in there. And then Thursday, sparring. I was just burning myself out. So Jess is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't have to do that. Okay, you lift twice a week, and we can do this. You do foundation in the morning. And he prepared me for my last submission match. And he's just been just a good friend in the way of just nutrition and health, and anything where from methylene blue to supplements, and I think I've helped him through jiu-jitsu. I think he's got his blue belt now. He's getting there, and his striking, and found it. Eric guys were just so supportive and just making me, like I said, I want to be still sparring. I still want to be surfing. I still want to be doing jiu-jitsu when I'm 90. And I think through foundation of just strengthening that core, strengthening those little muscles, and those guys giving me so much time, which is the most valuable thing in the world, it's been pretty awesome. So I owe a lot to Jesse and Eric and foundation. It's definitely changed my life. I'm trying to get my wife and son to do it, but it's baby steps.
I always credit them with saving my career. How I even came across them was I tore my back lifting a patient years ago, and was doing the PT route, was paying out of pocket for a chiro, and the chiro in his office was playing this video of this dude doing this funny thing where his legs are apart and his fingers are touched together. And he goes, you should try this. Do it before you come every day. And so I started doing it, and my recovery went from, like 5% to 45%. It was amazing. And then I ended up getting certified, teaching my whole fire department. And I just shout from the rooftops to this day, because you're not only getting out of pain, but preventing injury and being able to deadlift and squat in a more biomechanically sound way. I mean, they just stumbled across something so incredible. And you look at the high performers, everyone from Kelly Slater to Lance Armstrong to the dude that plays Thor, Chris, what the hell is it? Hemsworth, thank you. I mean, all these people swear by it too. So every opportunity I can get to get a testimony from someone is worthy, because they, like I said, who knows where I'd be if I'd listened to, quacks and took pills and surgery. Would I even be walking around anymore? Maybe not.
No. And it's all about, like you said, like trying to, longevity wise, like trying to okay, you healed your back, but like you're just trying to maintain that so you don't do it. It's you don't want to fix it after it's already broken. Like I want to have my core, my back where I'm deadlifting, whether it's martial arts or deadlifting the guy at a shore break. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of my coworkers go out with back injuries, hip surgeries, all these things, because they're they're just lifting something up or lifting the ski up, and there goes their back. And I don't want to do that. So I feel like even I was never a deadlift kind of guy, and I love deadlifts now through Jesse, but I can feel how much foundation has given me awareness of my body. Have you noticed that a little bit? Like when I do a deadlift, I can literally feel the muscles in the soles of my feet up through my calves, up through my quads. And I can isolate to lift heavy weight, which I would have never, ever deadlifted that much weight. And I can do it smartly, because now I know how to use my body. And I think foundation has helped me that way. Because, when you pivot your foot out, for the archer that way, you're you're okay, I really got to be in tune of where my hip's at. Where's my hand out? Where's my calf? Where's my, it's like, my front legs, my front knee, don't bend it up. It's got to be straight. Don't be too far over. So it's given me a body knowledge that has translated into lifeguarding and martial arts. You know what I mean? Because, how many times you get injured in jiu-jitsu? You're always going to get injured in jiu-jitsu. But if you're aware of your body, you're somebody spazzing out on top of you, oh, I got to move my knee a different way. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got to move, because you become more aware of it. And yeah, I owe a lot to Jesse and Eric. They've definitely helped me become a better version of myself, for sure.
Absolutely. That's so great to hear. All right. Well, I want to be mindful of your time. So for people listening, where are the best places to learn more about you, your training, or find you on social media?
Pretty much only on Instagram. I don't ever go on Facebook. So just Kyle Foyle. And all together, no crazy emojis or anything. It's Kyle Foyle. Yeah, no, it's kind of fun. I've actually gotten a couple people to some dads. I'm 40, and it's I hate the dad bod. whole thing. I think that's the lamest Instagram thing, whatever that's sexy right now, is the dumbest thing in the world. Because like, you're not ready to protect your family. You're going to be unhealthy. You're showing your kids, which I'm a firm believer, what you do in front of your kids non-verbally dictates how they're going to be. So I want to show my son, I'm 40 and I still got abs. I'm, good genetics. I got good genetics. So it's nothing but I want to show him, this is what a dad at 40 is supposed to look at. Now I've actually got a couple guys I don't know DM me, hey, what I'm trying, I work a lot. What can I do? And I'll try to help them as much as I can, or at least just a nice word to them. Like, hey man, it's totally doable, and if I can inspire somebody that way, then shoot, that's another person. Like I would help lifeguarding, or I would help the junior guards, like, because it's a trickle. Whatever you do in this life does not sound like Gladiator, echo eternity. Because like the kid that you help at jiu-jitsu, the kid you help at junior guards, or the guy you save at Pipeline, or the guy you just DM back that's kind of at a low point in his life because he's fat, his wife's yelling at him, or he's stressed at work and his kids are paying. Like, if you can inspire him just to kind of go, okay, if I take care of this first, then I can take care of this too. So yeah, it makes me feel good. It's to help people is definitely. You're a fireman, you know how it is. It's the highest drug of high, man. If you truly enjoy it, doing it to help people and not the money and not the title, I think it's the best thing in the world.
100%. Well, I want to thank you so much. It's been such an amazing conversation, all these different layers of your kind of life's journey. And again, I always like to pull out the parallels from your profession when applied to the fire service and law enforcement as well, because from the physical fitness side and the training standards, I think you guys are a great profession to really hold ourselves to. And some departments are doing it really well, but I think there's a lot that could learn from, the ocean lifeguards. So I want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time and coming on the Behind the Shield podcast today.
No, I appreciate it, James. Thank you. Yeah, I wish we could talk longer for sure. No, this is fun. And thank you for holding, first responders, we're all a family. And thank you for kind of putting that word out that it's not okay to, drop, like you said, be subpar and hit that. I hit that one low level. Like, we're helping lives and our own lives at the same time. So thank you for being the voice for that.